Hello and welcome to the video about Introduction to Azure DevOps. In this video, we are going to discuss how to create an Azure DevOps account for free with GitHub. We are also going to briefly discuss about different aspects or different components of Azure DevOps. We are going to talk about Git briefly. We will see what the Git is used for, and we will go through all the different components and the options available in Azure DevOps that make up for a very successful implementation where you can combine different steps that are required to successfully code and then build that code and deploy that code into different environment, for example development environment, uh, quality assurance environment, UAT environment, and production environment automatically. um, Azure DevOps is a very powerful tool. It has several components that can be very highly configured to cater to your needs. It's a very good tool to have if set up the right way, properly, which takes time. It can significantly save time in the long run. It can provide a lot of value to your organization or company. Even if you are a small company or a very large company, Azure DevOps, in my opinion, is the right tool to implement to manage your source code, to manage your tasks, to manage your work items, to manage your work epics, the reports and the dashboards that it provides are very user friendly. They give you all these capabilities of configuring the product in a different way. If you are running one project or multiple projects or tens of projects, or um, Azure DevOps works seamlessly once it is configured. Now to start with, you have to come to this website, azure.microsoft.com/services/devops, or you can go to dev.azure.com, which will redirect you to this site. Um, Once you're here, before I go ahead and create an account, free account, I will briefly talk about different components. But you can see that since I already have a Microsoft account, I'm logged in with it. If you don't have a Microsoft account, you will have to create one before you create a free Azure DevOps account. Now, before I, like I said, before I create on start for free um, Azure DevOps account, I'm going to briefly give you an introduction of different DevOps components. You can see that we have Azure boards, we have Azure pipeline, we have Azure repos, we have Azure test plans, and we have Azure artifacts. Azure repos, I'll talk about Azure repos first. Azure repos or repositories are essentially a repository where you store your source code. Git is a very heavily used repository used by pretty much everyone I know uh, to store the source code. There are multiple advantages of Git. I will talk about Git in upcoming videos in detail. Once you have developed the code, obviously you want to deploy that code. For that, we use Azure Pipeline. Azure Pipeline essentially picks up the code from the repository and takes that code and deploys it to whichever the environment we want to deploy. Once the code is deployed, we can use Azure test plans to test that code, and once we are happy with that code, we can pass it, have an approval mechanism where management is approving it or somebody is approving it, and then that code be released to end users. All of this, when this is happening, you can see the performance of all of this on Azure boards. It's a very good user interface that supplies you a lot of information in a very user-friendly manner. Azure Artifacts is for packages, and you can call it shared component, shared packages that you're going to use across multiple projects. Um, so you can store them all there in Azure Artifacts. Now, you can see that there is another option for extension marketplace. Um, there are people who have built extension. You can buy them, or some of them are free. You can use them in your projects uh, from the marketplace. Now going ahead, you will see that we talked about Azure boards, and you can see an example of the Azure board. This is how one of the Azure board appears. Again, this is not the only way board can appear. You can configure it to however you want. You can see the simple example is that there are new items and there are active items, and then the item that are resolved. If you just come to this screen anytime, first thing in the morning, you will know what is going on. Azure Pipeline, you can see that it picks up the code, builds it, and then deploys it. This is a simple example, yeah, but you can have several tens of different steps in an Azure Pipeline. When you see CI/CD, CI/CD stands for Continuous Integration, Continuous Deployment, which means you can automate all of this. Azure Repos, like I said, is a code repository. You can see that there is a code change made in this example, and then there is a communication going on between developers about that change. So as the developers are working on projects, no matter where they are, if they are geographically distributed, they can coordinate about the code changes inside the Azure DevOps. The next item is Azure Test Plan. You can create Azure Test Plans, and you can make them execute automatically. If they pass, you will see the green, and if they don't pass, you will see the red. In the later videos, we will create test plans and we will check them out. And like I said, for the Azure Artifacts, you can see that it has packages and libraries and all the other things that are useful to our projects. And you can use these Azure Artifacts based on the requirement you have. You can have packages for, like you see on the screen, AdventureWorks. You can have Python. You can have there are, as far as I know, hundreds and hundreds of Azure Artifacts available. Now going back to the beginning, the very top of the page, we will create our free Azure DevOps account. For that, I'm going to click on create start for free with GitHub button. So I'm going to click here. Since I am already logged in with my Microsoft account, it is not going to ask me to create a new one. It will take those credentials, and then it will show me those credentials on the next screen. If you are not logged in, you will have to supply the credentials. So your screen might look differently than how my screen looks right now. You can see that it has already picked up my name and my email address, my location, and then I'll just click continue on this screen. Now it is going to create a project for me. You can see that it has a project name. It already chose a project name. If I want, I can change the project name here, but I will keep it as it is. Now it is asking me in the next one, what is the project visibility, whether it is visible to public, everyone, or just private. I want to keep it private, so I will click continue. Now it's creating my DevOps, Azure DevOps organization. You can see that it has created it. Now you can see on the screen it has the project name that I supplied, multi-cloud platform, in here. And on the left you can see that it has everything that we talked about, like you can see it has um, overview. We talked about boards, repos, pipelines, test plans, and artifacts. All of them are here on the left. One by one we will click on all of them, and we will see how everyone appears on the screen. So first I'm going to click on summary. Summary is this. Right now, since there is nothing in it, it just appears blank. There is nothing, it's not showing any project state, but as we add items to it, it will come. I'm going to click on boards, and when I click on work items, you can see that there are no work items right now at this moment, but that's all right. What we are going to do, we will create a new work item. Now you can see that we have three options right now: epic, issue, and task. Epic is a high-level business requirement, so I'm going to click on epic. So I'm essentially creating a new epic. We are in this for today's demo, we are taking a hypothetical example of a insurance company, and what that insurance company is trying to do is to migrate from an old software to a brand new insurance management software that they want to build. So I clicked on create new epic, and now I'm going to supply a title over here. You can see that on the screen there are different options available. I can supply description, I can supply related work item, I can say which area it is related to, or iteration, what is the state, is it in to-do state or any other state, and what is the reason. I can do all of that in here. So I will type a title. So apply the title, create new insurance management system, click save. My epic is saved. I'll go back to work items. You can see that epic is created. I'm going to click on new work item and click on task. Now I'm creating a task. Obviously, when you do a large project, you want to break it down into smaller tasks. So you can create as many tasks as you want, and those tasks will translate into a workable item that developers will work on, will code for. This task I'm creating, I'm calling it create new database for new insurance management system, and I will click save. You can see I can assign it to different people. Right now, since I just created an account there, I'm the only person in here, but in real world scenarios, you will see that many people will be working in the same team, and when you click on assign to, you will see those people name, and you can choose whoever the person is supposed to do the task in here. You can see the iteration. In agile world, we can have iteration 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can make that this task item of the iteration that in which iteration this item will be done. Iteration is essentially a process of taking the tasks, getting everything done related to those tasks, and then releasing that iteration as a release. So far I've created an epic and a task. I'm not going to create issue over here right now, but I will show you on the next screens. So now I am going to click on boards. You can see that it's giving us an overview of Azure boards. The Azure boards, the pre-configured way is the Kanban board. A Kanban board, it has swim lanes where it tells you the task and which state they are in. Is very, very user friendly and very easy uh, um, to manage. You can see which tasks are in to-do list, which tasks are in doing list, and which tasks are in done list. Now you are not stuck with only these three swim lanes. You can create your own status as well, and that's the best part about Azure DevOps. It's highly configurable. So if you create new states, you can configure them, and they will appear here, and you can have your task move to different states. You are not stuck with just the three states that you see on the screen. So I will just go ahead and I will click on done. You can see there is no issue here that because I did not create it in the previous screen. I'm going to click on and you can see the swim lanes like I was talking about. We have to do, we have doing, and we have done. So I'm going to click on new item and I will create a new. So I am over here. I'm just going to say that we are, for this hypothetical example, we need a new server. So I'm just going to create a issue for it that we need a get new SQL server. So once I do it, you can see that it's available here. It's right now it's in to-do list, but if let's say somebody start working on it, if I start working on it, I can move it to doing. So now it's in doing state. You can see how easy it is to drag and drop, and once it is done, I can move it to done state. So if my manager or management comes in here and wants to have a look at it later on this board, it is for them. It is very easy to see which tasks are in to-do list, which are in doing, and which are already done. Very, very user friendly. I find it myself very easy to manage. I can move the task in between different states however I want. Next, I'm going to click on backlogs. Backlogs is essentially the items that need to be worked on. You can see that this is my backlog, and this is in sprint 1. A sprint is just a grouping of backlog items. So you can have different sprints. Right now it's by default named as sprint 1, and you can see there is only one issue in this sprint 1 right now. I can create more sprint if I want to. I'll keep it simple for now, and when I click on this, you can see that this sprint has only one side, which is get new SQL server. Queries is a very, very powerful feature which I love the most. As the project grows, there could be situations where you have hundreds and hundreds of different issues, tasks, and looking at the reports of them could become tricky. So what you can do over here, you can come in and select different options, different filters to look at the information that is relevant to you at the time. For example, at this time, when I run this query the very first time, it is showing me everything. It's showing me my all epics, all tasks, and all issues. But if I go and filter that, okay, only shows me issue only, and run query, now it is only showing me issue. So I can filter on many different parameters. I can even filter on dates. I can filter to who the task is assigned to, what state it is in. All of that I can do very easily. I find it very, very user friendly, especially in an environment where there are lots and lots of tasks and a lot going on. When I click on repos files, you can see that it takes me to this page. Since I have not added any code at all at the moment, I don't see any code here. I don't see any files here, but in the next steps we are going to create a default readme file, and that you will see that file in the repo over here. For now, because I wanted to tie this my Azure DevOps to the GitHub, I and I have I've decided to choose Git as my repository. I am going to click on generate Git credentials, and it will generate Git credentials for me. Remember to store those Git credentials securely somewhere, because once the password appears for the Git credentials on the screen, it's like a one-time thing. The next time the same thing will not appear. And so if you lose that password, you might run into challenges. In the other areas of the screen, you can see that if I want to, I could import a repository. If I had an existing repository, I can push it. So I clicked on get Git credentials, and it generated my username and my password. Since you can see in the warning that it says copy the password now, we don't store it and you won't be able to see it again. So what I've done, I just copied the password and I saved it in a secure location on my MacBook. Once I have saved that, I'm going to save my username as well, just to be sure that I have everything. And I will also save the URL that you see as a repository URL in on the top line. So I'm saving this information into a secure place on my MacBook. This is the URL I've saved. I copied it and I saved it in the secure location. Through this URL and username and password, I can connect to the GitHub account and I can see all my code in there. If I'm using a tool like Visual Studio or any other tool that supports Git, I can use this information to connect to this Git repository. It's not just Visual Studio. There are several other tools out there like Eclipse, Android Studio that connect to Git. It's very common to use Git on a multiple platform. Even if you are using Linux, if you are using any other operating system, you can use it. So I clicked on initialize, which created a readme.md file, and now I have essentially one file in my repository. When I clicked on files first, the very first time you didn't see anything, but now you can see that since I have initialized it, it has created this readme.md file, and you can see this file here. It has information about the project. You can type any information over here you want for your project. Now you can see when I click on commits, this is the file that is committed already because I created it, and this is already in as part of the repository. If I want to create a branch, I can create it here right now. When the Git is initially created, it has master, and for now we will just keep it that way. We'll just have a master branch. But in normal circumstances, what happens is that developers download the Git repository on their local computer, create their own branch, develop a feature of the project, test it out on their local computer, and then they merge that branch with the master branch. And master branch can be used to pick up the code and then from the pipeline, through the pipeline, and then deploy it on a certain server to build the product. Now I'm going to click on pipeline. So you can see right now we do not have any pipeline because we just created this account. I am going to click on create pipeline. The whole idea of pipeline is to do the tasks of taking the code, compiling it, and deploying it, and make all of that automated. That's the whole idea of a pipeline. Now, as you can see, it is asking me, okay, where is your code? And as you know, our code is in Git. We can configure it here, but for now, I'm just going to move to the next one. You can see it has option to create different environments, like I talked in the beginning of the video. The environment could be dev, the environment could be QA, UAT, It could be production environment. You can create as many environments as you want. Normally there are 4 or 5 environments used in every company: dev, QA, UAT. Sometimes they have pre-prod, some people don't have pre-prod, and then production. We can configure all of that over here. So I will click on create environment, and I will create environment over here, the very first environment, because right now we have no environment created. So I'll tap the name here. I'm going to call it a dev environment, like development environment. In the description I'll type development environment. Now I can associate this environment with any resource. I can associate with it Kubernetes. I can associate it with a virtual machine, but I'm going to leave it as it is for now for simplicity. In the future videos I'll show you how to configure it to a certain virtual machine or Kubernetes, where you can deploy your code. So you can deploy your dev code on a development machine. You can deploy your QA code on a QA machine. When I say machine, I mean virtual machine. Or I can deploy my production on a production server. If I click on new pipeline, you can see that it is giving me a whole bunch of options. I can choose a template, a pre-built template. Azure DevOps offers so many pre-built templates. You can see there's a Python, there is Kubernetes, there is IIS and SQL database, there are cloud service deployment. There are so many different options available, and Azure is adding more and more options pretty much, I would say, every week, sometimes every month. So you will see new options here. You can even write automated tests over here. So when you create a pipeline, you can choose a template, or you can just build your own thing. You don't really have to create your pipeline from a template. You can create your own steps. I'm just gonna cancel out of it here. If I'm using, if you wanna, make things dynamic, I can use variables and I can define those over here. Task group is essentially taking the tasks and putting them into a group. If I have created a task group, I can import it over here. I can click on the button. I'm just going to skip on that. Deployment groups is you can create logical group of target machines for parallel deployment in environments like Amazon, Facebook, and all the other big companies. When a change happens in the code, it's not deployed to just one server. Because of their scale, they may be using hundreds of servers, they may be tens of servers. So you can create deployment group over here. So when you deploy the code, essentially you will deploy to the deployment groups, and that will deploy the code into multiple servers, all these servers that you specify in the deployment group automatically. So you don't really have to go server by server, one by one, and deploy manually. You don't have to do that. That's the best part I love about Azure DevOps, that you can automate pretty much everything. Now we are at the test plan. We can see that as of this moment we do not have a test plan. You can create test plan over here, and you can execute them from different screen. You can check the progress of the test plans, how many runs those test plans had. You can do a load test. So when you are building application that will be used by thousands and thousands, sometimes millions of people, it is not possible to test it by manually typing information by humans. You want to test it how the application will behave if there are thousands and thousands, sometimes millions of users accessing the application at the same time, like for example Amazon or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. These applications are used by millions of people every minute, every second. So just to make sure that your application is going to work with thousands of users, you can do a load test of the application. You can configure it here. We're not going to do that right now because we don't really have an application at the moment. So we will just skip this out, and you can see that it gives different options, whole bunch of options. I'm gonna go into artifacts. Like I said, artifact is for shared packages, and if I want to get pre-built packages, I can get them and add them over here. You can see today we had a brief introduction about Azure DevOps and Git and different components that are there in Azure DevOps. Thanks for watching. I very much appreciate your time. Please keep watching. Please come to this channel, subscribe, and I will be posting more videos to provide you more information about latest technology trends and new technologies and how you can configure them and how you can make the most out of them. Thank you so much.